Once upon a time, two boys grew up playing hockey in the village of Terrace, British Columbia. One of them went on to play in the National Hockey League. The other became a comedian. Now, one flies planes and coaches youth hockey. The other is still a comedian and owns new skates. This is their podcast, Enjoying Orange Slices with Jeff and Ian.
Hello, Jeff Sharples. It's been a long time since we rock and rolled, yeah. Where were you last week? What happened to us last week? Why didn't we do it? Something happened. Oh, you were learning how to keep the plane's rubber side down.
That's right. And as Trooper would say, we're not here for a long time. We're just here for a good time. Since you're going to start singing.
Yes.
The singer. Are you the masked singer?
I'm the masked singer. This week I'll be announced as the masked singer that nobody knows. Yeah. Awesome. So you were in Seattle last week for the whole week?
Yeah. So you go up and you have to, I don't want to say get retrained, but you have to go through your paces and get signed off again for another 6 months or a year, depending on every airline's training program's a little different. So yeah.
So it was 6 months since it was 6 months since the last time you did it.
Yeah. Well, so when you switch airplanes, they bring you in after you go back out there and they bring you in 6 months later and give you the fire hose and then send you on your way again. So they sent me on my way all the way up to the home of the Koi Cup champion, Terrace River Kings.
Oh, you were up in Terrace, British Columbia, home of Keith Axelson. You went up and seen Mom? You went up and seen your mom?
Yeah, I went up, saw my mom, and saw your sister. We saw Jocelyn yesterday.
How's Jocelyn Bagg doing?
Oh, she's doing great. She looks great, and we about a half an hour of taking you down, so that felt really good.
That's my sister.
Yeah, but I told the story. It was my favorite story is when one of the coaches comes out to me on the ice and says, "Hey, let me know next time Lord Bagg's in town." I told your sister, I said, "Don't ever say those two words ever again on the ice." So she enjoyed that.
There's two things that don't go together: ice and bag when you're talking to Sharples.
So
that's awesome. I'm glad you made it up there and had a good time and you got all retrained. You didn't see any hockey while you were in Seattle, did you?
No, too busy. You just
too busy.
When you go back into these training programs, it's a full day affair, and then when you're done, they ring you out and hang you up to dry so they can throw you back in the deep end of the pool the next day. So really, there's not a lot of. It's not like you're going up there to have beers with your buddies. It's a serious event, and just like this podcast, very serious.
I got some compliments the other day about the podcast. I love it. It's not about like stats and facts. It's just you guys talking hockey.
We get around to hockey once in a while, and you know what? Here's a stat. This day last year, do you know where you were?
Oh, I know where I was. I was in the Cabo Championship for pickleball. Is what I was in. I was about to. I think I placed third in that out of 3 teams, and it was the championships. You know why? You know why I remember that? This is actually today is when the playoffs started last year.
Right on. Wow.
Because we were trying to get the games all on the TV, but we couldn't get from the computer to the TV, so we sat around and watched the computer.
That's right. So we played the Cancun Cup in Cabo. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, it was the Cancun Cup in Cabo. That's what it was. I forgot.
That's right.
It was just like the Arizona Coyotes. The Cancun Cup lost financing and they moved it to a different town.
That's right. They're like, we're done.
We lost our sponsors.
We're a revenue generating business, but not at 4,200 seats. So it's just like Cancun couldn't hold us anymore. So we moved the Cancun Cup to Cabo. So
we had a great time. We had a good 3 days and kick back. And it was, we all paid our taxes on that day and went to Mexico. It was a lot of fun. That was.
That's right. The playoffs and taxes. And one of these days, we're going to get Mr. Morton on the show because nobody knows more
about taxes.
And mostly taxes, but hockey and hockey people. Although he probably won't share any of them with us. nobody knows anybody.
I'll do
Well,
my
I
impression.
just tied
Randy
myself
knows
in a knot
Randy
there.
knows everybody and has all the insider information, but let me do an impression of him on our podcast. Yeah, that's nice. Not answering
Yeah.
any questions at
No.
all.
Yeah.
You know who he does know is a certain coach that used to coach for Chicago. Do you think today Buffalo fired all their coaches? Do you think Coach Q could end up in Buffalo?
That would be a great spot for him.
Right?
Yeah, I think,
As soon as
you
I seen that, I
know,
was like, that's who you got
yeah,
to get in there.
we told a story about Coach Q. We were down at the Bellagio, big name drop there. I didn't drop.
Let
So we're
me get
down at
that.
the
Hold on, let me
Bellagio.
get that for you.
Yeah, write that down. This was back in the day. Now I just sit out on my patio and think about what used to be. Anyways, uh, we're down at the Bellagio for Game 5 of the Rangers Kings, which
Yeah,
I think they won it in double overtime. Alec Martinez, right?
I
And
think that's one.
yeah, so we're sitting on this couch and this big screen TV's in front of us, about I don't know, 10 or 15 feet, whatever. It was a huge TV. So we're sitting on this couch, me, Randy, and Busky. And Busky
And me.
gets up.
Don't forget me.
Were you there?
Yeah, I was there.
I was waiting. I was waiting.
That's what you want
Okay.
flying. You're playing that guy that just goes, remembers what game it was, but doesn't remember the guy that was sitting beside him.
We just remember where we're going. Doesn't matter who's behind me. As long as I get there, everything's good. So that's the plan. So, anyways, you're there. Had to interrupt. You couldn't let me build it up and bring you in. So remember when Rod stood up, and there's a look that Busky gets on his face when he's just about to go ballistic. And
Right.
I thought, I'm like, oh, we came for a hockey game. I guess there's going to be a brawl. He gets up and looks at this guy, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy's in trouble. We turn around, and sitting right behind us is none other than Coach Q, Joe Quenville. And wasn't that the greatest? Like, we spent the rest of the game with him. His family came in with him. They couldn't wait to get rid of him.
They were going for
passed him
dinner.
off to us. Yeah, they were going to the pool
there for
or
dinner.
weren't they?
They were going for dinner, and he stopped and seen the game and stood behind us and chatted about the game the whole time. Yeah, and they're like, Dad, we're going to dinner. All after the game. After the game.
Yeah, so he ended up sitting on the couch with us. And so Coach Q, I would love to see him anywhere. I think he's a fantastic guy, fantastic coach. I think obviously you'd have to talk to the league, make sure everybody's where they need to be. With what's happened in the past in Chicago, and make sure that everybody's in a good place there. But I think a team like Buffalo would be a great spot for him, because you know what, he took over in Chicago and they had a very similar team to that. They had a lot of talent, a lot of really special young players, but they just couldn't get it together, right? And so I think Coach Q, Quenville, would be a great fit anywhere. But a place like Buffalo, I think it would be a home run. I think he'd be excited about being there.
Yeah, he did some interview the other day, and I gotta agree. He's paid his penance. The other people have paid the other people, and the team have paid their penance, and they've been able to come back and do their thing. It's time for him to be able to as well. So
yeah, I think so. I think I think he's been out for a little while now. So you look at your coaches, and we don't need to talk about all the guys available. You got Coach Gallant, old Spuddy, Coach Q, Todd McClellan.
Spuddy might be a good one in there too.
Well, and don't forget, Ottawa needs a coach, Coach Berube, right? So, and there'll be some other
there's
guys.
some talent out there, huh?
Yeah, and then you think of a guy that kind of rode off in the sunset, and I'm not sure he's done, as a guy like Alain Vigneault, veteran guy, and so there's some good guys out there.
Do you see him coming back as a coach or a general manager?
I think, once a coach, always a coach. Some of these guys are able to make the transition, like a Barry Trotz, but I'm not. And I think Vigneault, if you ask most of the guys he played with, was an outgoing guy that could communicate with them. So I don't see why he's
still young too.
Wouldn't have the chops to do that. But if you look at a guy like Trotz, just a little different. He's wound a little differently. Came in with Nashville, worked really close with the GM, and remember when we were in the draft in Nashville, every GM that got up thanked David Poyle, who was the GM of the Nashville Predators at the time, for helping, mentoring, and helping them out. So even though they're competing against each other, here's this guy, Poyle, helping all these young guys out. And so obviously he helped Barry out. And now Barry's, I think, kind of another homegrown Nashville Predator that's returned home. And I don't know if Vigneault would be interested in that or not. Oh, and here's another guy, Travis Green, interim coach. I think Greeny would be a great pickup for someone too. I hope he gets a chance to keep building in New Jersey with Gilly and another old teammate of mine, Chris Taylor. So
what's scary about Nashville is when I was in Nashville, doing my comedies, they had just lost to Dallas the night before I flew in 7-0. And that's when they kind of started turning things around. They kind of did that old St. Louis thing where they went on a tear. So I don't know, whoever gets Nashville in the playoffs should be very, very shy, or I don't know, timid. I don't know, what would you call it? I don't know. Wary?
Aware. And I mean, the way it looks right now, if you look at the last two games Vegas has, Nashville's done playing, and LA, I don't know how the tiebreaker works, but it was kind of looking like they were going to get Vancouver. There's a lot to unpack there, but Vancouver looks really good. But yeah, Nashville.
Vancouver all of a sudden Vancouver's all of a sudden, they were looking horrible, but all of a sudden in the last couple of games, they look like they want to play again.
Well, and here's another little footnote on Nashville. They were coming to Vegas after that, and they had U2 tickets at the Sphere. I don't know if you ever heard of it. People are already telling me they're sick of hearing about the Sphere. So I'm like, okay, well, you better turn off all your social media, because I think it's probably going to be pretty popular for a while. But they had 50 tickets or 100 tickets. They were bringing everybody to the U2 concert, and they said, we're done. They're not going. So they canceled all that, and they flew in the day before. And you're right. They came in and gave it to Vegas, and they just rolled after that. And yeah, be careful, because they played, kind of the same way for a long time now. And those are the kind of teams you got to be a little concerned about, right? The ones that kind of,
when they start the playoffs early.
Yeah. And I think you're going to see the same thing in the Eastern Conference. You've got four teams that are battling for one playoff spot. You got Pittsburgh. You've got, let's see here, Pittsburgh, Philly, Washington,
and Detroit.
Watch Detroit pull it out of the hat last night. Crazy game. So, now all of a sudden you have all that momentum of that team that's going to get in, and they're going to end up playing the Rangers is who they're going to play, because the Rangers won the President's Trophy. So the Rangers have kind of been cruising, playing really well, but now you get a team that's basically been playing for their life
desperation
the whole month of April, and maybe even before that.
Yeah, I think so. We're doing the podcast today. It comes out tomorrow. Tonight, Washington plays Philadelphia, right? And if they lose, they're out, right? Washington's out. So but if Montreal, they win, they're in, right? Isn't that what it is?
Yeah. So I think the team that has control of their own destiny in this whole thing is Washington. And then Pittsburgh, forget who that, I think Pittsburgh finishes on the island on Wednesday or Thursday night. And then, but the big game is Philly and Washington, because if Philly wins and everything lines up for them, they get in. Like, it's crazy. And then Detroit goes back to back with Montreal. And so by the time everybody's listening to this, they'll already have their answer of who is in. If Washington wins, then they're in. Doesn't matter what the other guys do.
It's Washington can lose in overtime and still be part of it, still be in the equation. But if they lose in regular, they're out.
Yeah, and Philly has to win, and basically so does Pittsburgh, right? So Pittsburgh, Detroit, Philly, they all have to win, and Washington.
What do you got? Who would you like to see?
Well, I'd like to see Detroit. Come on.
Yeah, come on. Yeah. Wake up.
Come on.
Wake up. Come on. Yeah. I'm in Detroit next week.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to see Detroit. It was so exciting to see that building going crazy last night, that end of Montreal game. And it was one of those counterpunch games. They outshot in the end. They ended up outshooting Montreal almost 2-1, but Montreal had the lead, and then they scored. They hit 2 crossbars and a post, and scored a goal. So they had 3 that hit the cross, 2 that hit the crossbar, 1 that hit the post, and 1 goal within the last minute of the game and the first minute of overtime. It was insane. And what's cool is to see the building going nuts. And that's why you like to see the original 6 teams. Like, it's kind of funny. We kind of just pencil Boston in every year, but it's nuts in Boston. It's going to, the Rangers are going to be crazy. Toronto's going to be nuts. And now hopefully Detroit gets in, and then, we'll have to wait on the Blackhawks for a little while, but I'll be watching them tonight.
Toronto playing the Panthers tonight. Oh, you're going to the game tonight.
That's right. So tomorrow everyone will be like, well, that was yesterday.
Sit down, poor people. I'm
going to say Bedard has a good game. Okay, he had a good game, but Hurdle was better than advertised. And we both, you and I, love Hurdle anyways, but
yeah.
I really like Hurdle, but he reminds me so much of Kopitar, and I can't think, I'm sure he's just thrilled that that I'm saying that, but I think if your name was brought up in the same sentence as Kopitar, that would
happy.
Make any guy in the NHL. Yeah. I think McDavid, if you said, you know what, McDavid does some things like Kopitar, I think McDavid would be thrilled to hear that. That's how special a player and how revered Kopitar is. I've loved him. There's 3 guys I watched when they first came to town 7 years ago that just really caught my eye. One was Patrick Kane. It's just like the puck is Velcroed to his stick. And one night he played 28 minutes when he was here for a forward. Like, it was crazy. And he had the puck every shift. He was out there, and it didn't look like he hardly broke a sweat. The other one, which was kind of a surprising one to me, was Pietrangelo when he was with St. Louis, is how well he moved for a big man, 6'4", how well he moved across the blue line laterally really blew me away. And watching him every day, he's got lots of jam. He'll stay in on plays. He's a real cagey player. But the one that just blew me away, and those 2 did, but Kopitar was just, he is exceptional. And the camera, when you watch on TV, doesn't do what he does justice. And I think Hurdle is, if he can get himself kind of rolling here in Vegas and back in the limelight with a team that's perennially wants to be a playoff and cup winner, then he could, I'm not going to say he's going to be Anze Kopitar, but he could remind you of him and be very, they'll have a lot of the same attributes.
They'll have a lot of it. What do you think? Who's the quietest team, and who's the noisiest team that's going to be a disappointment? Who's going to be the quietest team that's going to make an impact, and the noisiest team that's going to be a disappointment? Because there's always one, right?
I wish you were going to just say the quietest team, because then I would say Columbus.
Man, I can't wait until next season when we can let that go. We'll never let it go. Shut up, Cam, you mother.
My favorite part about that is thinking of you when the Knights got in the other night and officially eliminated Columbus.
The Columbus Blue Jackets have been officially eliminated.
Oh my God. And there's another team that needs a coach, right? So
they need a whole new personality. Is that team? I read a little bit of a rumor that Johnny Gaudreau's up for trade already.
I mean, I think any guy that has a no trade clause on a bad team is up for trade. Like, but if you're going to move Johnny, you're going to hold money. So the question with Columbus is, how much money do we want to hold? Because what does he make, like $8 million a year or something, right? Or he's just under 9.
You know where he could go?
Florida,
Arizona, but in Utah.
Yeah, he'd look really good there.
He would, wouldn't he?
Well, the only thing is,
they got a lot of money available there.
They do, and they wouldn't have to give up as much to take his whole contract on. If you want the team to hold money, the price goes up, right? But the only thing that I see with Arizona is if you look at some of their really skilled guys, they're not the biggest guys, and Johnny's not the biggest guy. So
Right.
you got to surround them, with some giants, which they have in Arizona. But Michelli's not a big guy, Keller's not a big guy, but these guys are really good players. So Johnny with those guys would look really, really good. And let's face it, they weren't that far away this year, and they went on the skid. Now all of a sudden, like, they're going to have certainty next year. They're going to be the Utah, whatever they're going to be. I hope
They don't get
change
they
name.
don't get to take the name, do they?
No, change names, and you got to change names and change colors, and you're Utah now. So we were the Grizzlies. We were up there. The Golden Eagles were I think it was the Salt Lake Golden Eagles, which is Calgary's farm team for a while. The I. So something that is kind of fits in that area, and then
You know what they got to do? They got to go
no.
not plural. Does
Well,
that
how
make
many
sense?
teams in the league are not plural though? There's
I
like
don't
only a
know.
couple.
There's only a couple. That's why if you go not plural, you really stand out again. Utah Grizzly, the Utah Coyote. They can't be called the Coyote, but the
No,
Utah.
the Utah High Desert.
You know what? You know what name that's never been used, but it was used by a Russian team and they had a horrible accident. Locomotive. Oh, I
Yeah.
love that name. That is such a good name.
Okay. How about these names? Okay.
Okay.
Taking us back to our youth,
Okay.
the Centennials,
The
the Terrace
Centennial.
or the Calgary Centennials. Great name. And here's another one.
The Utah Brothers. The Utah Elders. That would be
The Elders. That would be great. That would be cool. That would be cool. The Elders. Elders goal.
It's just a pamphlet. It's just a pamphlet on their logo is a pamphlet.
They all have to wear the same suits.
Elders goal.
I love it. I love Salt Lake. I treated like gold up there.
You played there. What years did you play there?
I loved 96 through 2000.
You were there 4 years.
The Turner Cup champions. Yep. So played in the Delta Center, won it all, and that's where they're going to play. Downtown, which is where you got to be.
Is that where
they're going to start there? Yeah, that's where the Jazz play. Yeah.
That's where the comedy club is that I play right across the street.
Well, and then they moved us out to where the Olympics were played, which is called the East Center back then. I don't know what it's called now, but it is a beautiful building. But the problem is it's only 10 or 11,000 for hockey, right? So,
and that's where you guys played?
We played in the Delta Center the first year or two, and then we moved to what was called the East Center, brand new.
What kind of numbers were you doing there?
In the East Center or in the Delta Center?
Both.
Selling out for the playoffs. Like for the finals against Orlando, the Solar Bears, we were selling out those games. And once the playoffs got rolling, easily 7,000 to 10,000. And then it started, 12, 13, 14,000. Yeah.
Really?
So you
think they're going to do good there? You think they're going to do well?
I do. And I also think they're going to have a built-in fan base of people locally, like Vegas did, that'll support them. That are going to buy. They're going to get all the King's Horse and all King's Men together to bring this together, and they're going to.
It's coming together quick.
Oh, that's a whole nother backstory there, right? But I think they'll support it. I think the players are going to love it. You can play golf, you can ski. No, you just don't tell anyone you're going skiing.
You
got to make sure you don't run into the coaches up on the hill.
Be careful. Be careful not to run into Butch in his Corvette while he's going skiing.
Yeah, his convertible Corvette with 4 feet of snow on the roof. So we'd always be like, Butchie, where are you going today? Oh, the best snow is up at Solitude. So we'd be like, okay, we're going to Snowbird, or we'll go up to Park City.
That's so funny.
But you got snowmobiling, you got lake, you got everything there.
It's a nice town.
You got to gamble. You got Wendover, Nevada, just about an hour and 10 minutes away. So
you got to gamble. We got to get out of town. We got to gamble. What do you? How many of those guys do you think own homes in Arizona? Out of the players,
I would say that's a tough percentage, but at least
because they're pretty young, right? That team. So
yeah, but I would say, I would say 50%. And I got to tell you, if I'd signed with in Vegas here, I'm sure a lot of these guys have homes. these guys look at these cities like, hey, we could spend time here after. So
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if a bunch of them had homes and like for the summer or after they finish playing or when Austin Matthews brings the team back in 4 years,
Oh,
to Arizona.
as ownership, right? You think
Well, if you
can you
think
play and
about
have
it,
ownership?
you know what? Again, facts. We don't deal in facts here, right?
Okay.
We're just throwing it
Okay.
out there. But I'll just give you something to think about. They're talking.
Okay.
I read a thing on Rory McIlroy, and he's been against Liv, and now all of a sudden he's not against Liv, and they're talking like astronomical numbers for him to come over and join Liv and possible ownership. So you can't, I don't think, do it in the NFL. Tom Brady, I don't think he can be an owner and play, as far as I know. Maybe I'm wrong. So in the NHL, I would imagine at this point, you probably, if it's okay, it's probably frowned upon. But if Austin Matthews wants to go back to Arizona and they're going to have an expansion team, then they're going to give him whatever he wants because that's the hook you need. That's the hometown boy. He's coming
But
back.
who knows if he wants to, like a lot of guys want to play in their hometowns, and when they get to their hometowns, they realize they didn't want to did actually or have it was better to play someplace else. So you never know
Yeah.
with that, right?
Well, and
So
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what kind of ownership has to go in there to make everything okay, but you have to have a building, first of all. Like it's crazy that they got kicked out of a building, Captain Over.
I just thought I'd flick it over and see if I could captain over. See, I knew you got to tell everybody what you did with the names today. Yeah, yeah.
I thought I was taking you down on something, and I took myself down. I called myself a dunk, Captain Dunk.
So
And then I changed it back, and then he's like, "You're," and then mine was I don't even know what mine is. You may have switched it to something. I think I may have switched it. Who knows?
I don't.
Who
Hey,
knows?
once
Who
we get in
knows?
the air, I'm not flipping the switches. You just got to leave
Oh
it all
yeah.
alone.
What about that plane where the guy apparently just sat his seat down and it just put the plane into a nosedive for 3
Yeah,
minutes or something like that?
I don't know what happened there, but I guess
Is there
you got to
really
be a little bit more.
is there really a switch on the seat that can make the plane go into a nosedive? Like that's a bad place for a switch, isn't it?
I think so.
Who came up with that
Mundane.
idea? Who came
Yeah.
up with that? Is this like
I don't
like
know about, you know what?
oh,
We'll have to ask the engineers about that. That's not my area, but
I just want to lean my seat back a little bit, but the only way I can do it is by putting the plane into a nosedive. Oh my God. Oh, there's never been if you got a bunch of money.
he was real comfortable for about a quarter of a second, then panic hit. Right? He's like, oh my God.
Oh, I'm looking down. I can't believe how great my
Yeah.
skin looks. I look so young. Face pulled back. Oh my God. Anyways.
Like you and I riding bikes around the shores.
Yeah.
Hey, look at those two. So what were you talking about before that?
We're talking about Arizona and just ownership and we're talking about what were we talking about? I guess I don't know. Well, let's move on to the next episode.
Okay,
By the way,
we can finish on that. But yeah, okay.
I listened to something the other day, and people say we've talked about ownership before or teams, right? Apparently, they're saying that there can be up to 36 teams because if you look at the league like it's no other, like the NFL, the NBA, all the teams are in the US, whereas Canada's got not most of the teams, a bunch of teams in the NHL. Therefore, there's still a bunch of markets that are empty and waiting.
Right.
So,
Right. Well, I mean,
I just don't know if you can go to 36 teams. Like, you don't even get to play each other twice in that schedule, do you?
well, the problem is, that you hear them talk about going to 84 games. I think
Too much.
again, a growing business is a thriving business, and if you're not growing, you're on your way out, right? So the NHL has got to try and figure it out, but I think they need to first of all have the feed into the league. Okay, so what you're doing is by going into markets that you say weren't traditionally in before, Florida, Texas, Arizona, Nevada, and even Southern California. Let's just use those ones. You have we talk about it all the time, but the surge of kids coming, but those
Right.
kids need to play somewhere before they play for you. So, and they have to get started. So they have to get into minor hockey. So one of the things that the NHL teams do in their cities is they have we talked about this a million times.
To learn to play.
Learn to play. Little Knights, little Avalanche, little Wings, or little Kraken, whatever, and they get those kids going.
Little crackheads.
So after that, so you have them now, but you need to be able to support them in your minor hockey system, and that's one of the problems that we're having in Vegas is the demand is outpacing the amount of ice available. So I know there's a couple more sheets coming on, but I don't know how quick they can get them, right? Let's just say you're lucky enough to get them in a year to 18 months if you were on, fast tracking it. So, but you do have this surge of kids coming from these big population bases, okay? So then you have to have somewhere minor hockey, okay, so we find a place from there. Then you have to, whether they play high school or some form of junior, before they go on to college. But there's all of these steps that have to happen for those kids to be able to feed into your league and help those expansion teams, be like Vegas and Seattle have been, because you don't want to have teams like you used to have. But then again, if you look around the league, Anaheim's struggling, Columbus is struggling, San Jose's struggling. So it's not like everybody's
you know what you
at the
do to
table
build.
eating right now, right?
You know what I think they need to build.
No.
They need to stop building the NHL and build the minor league system. They need to
Well,
put more. If they put
yeah.
more money into that, so
Mhm.
like you say, there's when you played in Utah, you were getting 10,000 people. If every rink got 10,000 people in the AHL, you're being able to you're growing a strong business.
Yeah, I mean, on a Wednesday night, you're probably not getting, that many people,
But if you can
but you
get it to
might get
that,
5 or 6. Yeah, but on the weekends, those teams are doing really well. And if you look just I don't know, Reno's considered Desert Southwest, but they're having a team going there now, right? And I'm not sure if it's an East Coast League team or what it is. Boise's another place that could, that has had minor league hockey. So not every team's going to be an NHL team, but you have these cities, and then of course you always have cities like Quebec City or around the Toronto area. I think the issue you have there is the hockey's already big there, so that's great. But you now have competing interests. Like
right?
I don't think the Canadians want another team in Quebec. Ottawa certainly doesn't want another team to compete with, right? Toronto and Buffalo don't want another team between, in
Hamilton.
Hamilton. I mean, that's just the fact. So what you'll have is this open-ended deal with Arizona for 5 years, and then Anson Carter is looking at coming back into Atlanta. And I know what everybody thinks about, oh man, we're going to try Atlanta again. But that's a huge market in the United States. Anson Carter as
I think they got to be more like they got to be more like soccer though in Europe, where you have teams that are like in different suburbs. Like you can't like calm down with the how much you need to expand into. That whole Toronto Hamilton area is very populated, and if you can break those people up and instead of and to bring people that aren't watching the game into the game because they now have something to it. I just think it's better if you calm down with it.
You know what? You're playing way more games than they're playing in Premier League soccer and these other leagues too. Like if you bring 2 more teams,
You also bring your travel costs down.
Right, but then you're splitting your fan. You think that, like, I just use any team in league. Like,
let's check with Randy.
Okay, we'll ask Randy, but I'll give you an example. Okay, so Arizona has been there and they've been trying to prop that team up for years. So now they move to Salt Lake. Well, guess who has the Salt Lake market or has tried to? The Golden Knights.
Vegas. Yeah.
Vegas has built up the Intermountain West, right? On this side of the Rockies, you've got Bill Foley's massive, and in Whitefish and Kalispell, Montana, Bill's huge up there. So they all those games go up through the Utah, Idaho, and into Montana. Now, obviously, the Kraken are coming over to grab some of those people from Idaho now, right? Because they're the Washington's team. So you look and you go, okay, well, we lose Salt Lake and we're probably going to lose some stuff up towards Montana. But now we've got a vacant market in Arizona we can go and push into and market into and do a deal to, have our games on down there. So although I hear what you're saying, the Leafs are never going to want to give up 1 inch of anything in the Toronto area. And Buffalo is I wouldn't say starving, but they're just look like they're on the way back up.
They're feeding on scraps.
But they're getting the scraps. So, but it's a great sports town. But if you go and you all of a sudden load into Hamilton, now you kind of T-bone Buffalo, and Toronto's not going to be happy. So, that's why you hear them talking about Kansas City or Houston, some of these other places that you will have a regional rivalry with the Stars and with the Blues at Kansas City, right? Stars, Blues, Stars, Blues, Blues and Kansas City. That's going to be, and then you'll have the Stars with the Houston team. Say they put one in there. Atlanta, you could have somebody. You can see what these are going into major U.S. markets that are big enough to support themselves, and you're probably not going to take a lot from your competition or your rival in the area. So
I just sometimes I look at some of these teams and I just don't know if the knowledge is there. Like even, Portland's a great junior hockey town. I don't think it's an NHL town. If you go in there, they don't even know they have a junior team. Like most of the people there, they're like, they don't know about Seattle even having a team. Like it's a little, they're not focused on that. They have one major team and that's basketball. Right. And that's what they focus on. So I think they could, and I don't know if they expand too much, would they ever make a team disappear? Like could a team ever just like not go someplace? Could it ever just fold and we go back one? I don't know if you can do that.
Their big concern is, and you right now in one of the most populous states that we have, California, you have 2 teams down there that are absolutely scuffling, right? Anaheim and San Jose. And if you look at how big that San Jose market is, you throw northern, the Bay Area with San Francisco, Oakland, and all the bedroom communities around San Jose, and they're awful. So I don't know. Anyways, I just got to finish vacuuming.
Finish vacuuming. Finish vacuuming. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think that's good. We can do shout outs if you want to start us off.
Oh man, you would give me a shout out. Shout out to Winnipeg. Shout out to Winnipeg. 4 sold out shows this weekend. I was gonna go to the game. They're gonna start on Sunday. I was gonna stay an extra day, go to the game, but they decided to start on Monday. So big shout out to Winnipeg. So I'm buying all my tickets, and then some people asking, "Hey, can I get tickets?" And I could say, "No, sold out all 4 shows."
No, big bragger. But why don't you tell everybody how you totally T-boned everything that we're gonna set up for the end of this week at the Comedy Store?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Big shout out to the Comedy Store. Yeah. Big shout out to the Comedy Store for keeping me in town on Thursday night, and I screwed up going to the game in Winnipeg on Thursday night, which would have been Vancouver, Winnipeg, to end the season. That's going to be Demko's going to come back. I would say that something big's on the lines there. I could have wore half Vancouver, half Winnipeg, and just been cheering for whoever won.
Whatever the clean.
My shout outs are horrible.
Yeah, you know what? Whatever free stuff that you had that was clean from an NHL team. I mean, you could have some King stuff on there too. There's a possibility of that. But
I was wearing a Dallas hoodie the other day, and some guy said, "Oh, you're from Dallas?" And I said, "No, just my friends work for Dallas." And Carrie asked, "Did you just tell that person your friends work for Dallas and you got free shit?" She just gives me trouble. I'm almost like, hey, I'm just trying to brag around the community, let them know that I get
Yeah.
free stuff. Drop on by the house, Ian Bagg, give you some swag from whatever team you're on. And it was,
Oh my
I
God.
love it. Anyways,
Okay. Okay. Are you
I
good?
also
You
got
done?
a big shout out to my wife who caught me the other day. I checked out some lady's buttocks in the in the grocery store. She goes, "Could you make it any more obvious?" I go, "No, I was looking at like there's whole roasted chickens over there and they're on special." And she goes, "You were not." She said, "I looked at that girl's butt too because I've never seen that color pants before. It was weird." But she said she said your head spun around. I'm like, no, it didn't. I like roasted chicken.
The rotisseries at Ralph's is
The
it's
rotisserie's
amazing.
got me. I just
Oh
couldn't
my
believe it.
God.
They're coming right off the rotisserie. I've never seen that shape before. Yeah.
Hey, all
Big,
right.
so I guess that was more a shout out to the girl who had the pants on.
Yeah, it was a story that ended up with a shout out for someone that you never knew.
And roasted chicken.
Someone that I used to know. And the rotisserie at Ralph's. It's amazing.
Back to you.
Okay. A couple shout outs this week. So I have two shout outs. One to my
How dare you?
yeah, I know. Actually, I might have three. I'm going to shout out to Yoakum, coach of U14 Storm team here in Vegas. He got his team to nationals. So he's a real character. He's Swedish. And but he reminds me of a coach that I used to have when I played junior. So the European guys are usually so tactical and nice, and he is really tactical and really nice, but he speaks like he's from the 80s. He coaches, he's awesome. So great guy, got the team to nationals. Congrats. Then my other buddy, my old D partner, Gordy Mark, who's been on every show he can in town, chirping me since they won. They went U14 girls went to nationals and won it in overtime. So Gordy, we are the champions. So good job, Gordy and the girls. Fantastic, because Vegas, as I said, is the hockey's kind of getting going here. Not at the level of other towns, but the kids are growing and they're working hard. So congrats to Gordy. And then finally, I'm going to take a page out of Lord Bagg's book. Shout out to my mom. I just went up and spent 5 days with my mom. She'll correct me and say 4, but I was just up in the big heartbeat of Canada, Terrace, British Columbia, and I got to spend some time with my mom, my brother, and his kids, and it was awesome. So great to be with mom. She's tough as nails from the prairies.
Love her. She okay? Everything
Love her. Everything's
Everything
good. So we're all good. So she said she's got to catch up on the Slices episode, so she'll be happy to hear that I give her a shout out today. So that's all I got for
nice,
you. Love to all. Love
Hold
to
on.
all.
Before I gotta do
Oh.
another one. I forgot to mention Denver University won the championships the other. Jack Caruso comes out, brings all the boys out to the show when I'm in Denver. Jack Caruso plays for the Denver University. Also, Massimo Rizzo. He's going to be signing with the Philadelphia Flyers this year, and he's a big shout out to those guys. They're big fans and keep up with me on the old social media. So big shout out.
Well, that's going to be the best name in the NHL immediately. Massimo Rizzo.
It's
that is such a great name.
Yeah.
Hey, and so here's my only other thing before we go, because we got to wrap this up. Let's start our shout outs about the 8-minute mark next week.
Our show should just be called shout outs. We just shout out people for 2 hours. How about that person? And how about that person?
All right. Well, here's to rotisserie chicken. Love tall.
Love tall.